Hi everyone, I am Fidel and I'm a member of San Antonio College's Offices of Advising and High School Programs. I'm also an immigrant to the United States of America, and that's why I chose today's reading, Dreamers by Yuyi Morales. Yuyi Morales left her home and came to the US with her infant son. She left behind nearly everything she owned, but she wasn't empty-handed. Before we start today's reading, I wanted to share a couple of helpful resources with you. First is the platform that we're using for the reading, Epic. Epic's a great website for readers of all ages and provides recommendations based on age range. For instance, Dreamers is recommended for those aged between 3 and 7 years. What I also like about this website is that it helps you to discover new words. Whenever you come across a new word, if you click on it, it gives you a pronunciation so you know how to say the word correctly, and it also gives you a definition so you understand what the word means. The other resource is the Immigrant Learning Center from Malden, Massachusetts. It's a great resource to help understand the topic of immigration. Why the center is very helpful, especially for young students, is the fact that it provides a lesson plan for the subject of immigration. After each reading, there is an exercise that follows that includes questions that you can ask each other so you can better understand the immigrant experience for those of us who come to these shores from all over the world. So grab something to drink, snuggle up, and I hope you enjoy Dreamers. I dreamed of you, then you appeared. Together we became amor, love, amor, resplendent life, you and I. What does this word resplendent mean? Okay, so bright as to seem to glow. Cool. One day, we bundled gifts in our backpack and crossed a bridge, outstretched like the universe. Do you see at the bottom, it says, Adios corazón. Goodbye, my love. And when we made it to the other side, thirsty, in awe, unable to go back, we became immigrants. Do you know what the word awe means? A feeling of mixed fear, respect, and wonder. Okay. Migrantes, you and I, the sky and the land welcomed us in words unlike those of our ancestors. Who are our ancestors? So it means someone in your family, but in the past. So it could be your grandparents, or it could be their parents, who would be your great-grandmother and your great-grandfather. There were so many things we didn't know, unable to understand and afraid to speak. We made lots of mistakes. You see in the picture, they're playing together and frolicking in the fountain. And that's something you just don't do here. You and I became caminantes, or walkers in Spanish. Thousands and thousands of steps we took around this land until the day we found a place we had never seen before. Suspicious, improbable, unbelievable, surprising. Look at all those books. Where could they possibly be? Unimaginable. Where we didn't need to speak, we only needed to trust, and we did. Books became our language. Books became our home. Books became our lives, we learned to read, to speak, to write, and to make our voices heard. Someday, we will become something we haven't even yet imagined. But right now, we are stories. We are two languages. We are lucha. We are resilience. We are hope. We are dreamers, soñadores of the world. We are love, amor, love. It was a brief story, but I really wanted to have the chance to talk to you about Yuyi Morales' personal experience that was used to create this book. So if you'll give me that opportunity, let's learn more about what her experience was like in coming to America. All of us have stories. Each of them is different. This story began in 1994, when I crossed a bridge with my 2-month-old son, Kelly, from Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, to El Paso, Texas. And though I did not know it at the time, to a new life in a strange and unfamiliar place, the United States of America. Once here, I was surprised by the quietness of the streets, the houses neatly lined up along the roads, and later by the cold winds of San Francisco Bay in summer. I had come so that my son could meet his great-grandfather, Ernie, who was very ill and not expected to live much longer, and to marry Kelly's father, a US citizen. I wanted to return to Mexico soon afterward, but was shocked to learn that because of US immigration rules and my new status as a permanent resident, I was now expected to remain in the United States. I had become an immigrant. But could I possibly call this new place my home? Like most immigrants, I missed things that felt familiar. My family, the food, my friends, my job as a swimming coach, and my ability to communicate, to understand, and be understood. In this new place where I did not speak the language, it was as if no one seemed to notice I existed, as if my words and actions didn't count. In those first days, I constantly wondered if I would ever find a place where I felt valued. Then, one day, Kelly's grandmother brought us to a building that would change our lives forever. We discovered the public library, and it was spectacular. I had never been in a place where you could just take the books from the shelves without asking and without being scolded for taking them. And there were picture books, something I had not encountered before. I could not believe how beautiful and sturdy they were. And then, when I opened them, I was amazed at the power of their illustrations. Even though I could understand very few of the words, I realized that I could understand the story through those images. A realization that would come to inspire me later on. I began bringing Kelly there almost every day, and although at first it was difficult for a little baby to stay longer than a few minutes, eventually we were able to spend entire afternoons looking at picture books, often only leaving when we were told the library was closing, and we were at home. During those years, as Kelly got older, librarians at the Western Addition branch, Richmond branch, Presidio branch, Mission branch, and the San Francisco Main Library on Larkin Street, among many others, guided Kelly and me to find books we could love, though in an English that I struggled to understand. One day, when Kelly was not yet 2 years old, Nancy Jackson, the children's librarian at the Western Addition branch, handed him his own library card. I was in awe. Remember that word? We could now take home a stroller brimming with books. One of the most important things I learned at the library is that through books, we can find our path and our purpose. I also learned that I love to tell stories and that I could tell them through books. I studied the books I admired so much and became determined to make my own. My first efforts were very simple and very crude, made by hand and bound with ribbons and filled with my own stories and drawings. I was so proud of those books. Kelly was not a dreamer in the way the word is used today, to refer to young, undocumented immigrants who were brought to the United States as children and who have lived and gone to school here and know no other country than this one as their own. Kelly and I were dreamers in the sense that all immigrants, regardless of our status, are dreamers. We enter a new country carried by hopes and dreams and carrying our own special gifts to build a better future. Dreamers and dreamers of the world, migrantes soñadores. Now I have told you my story. What's yours? I hope you enjoyed this reading, and I just wanted to share with you that last resource I mentioned, the Immigrant Learning Center in Malden, Massachusetts. If you go to their website, you can get lots of information on the immigrant experience, including that lesson plan that I shared with you. And here are a few questions from the lesson plan. So the first question, why did the immigrant or their family come to the United States? If we look at Yuyi Morales' story, what she shared is that she wanted her son to meet his great-grandfather before he passed away, and she also came to marry her son's father. Second question, if you had to choose one category, would you say they came for family, employment, or safety? In this case, I think Yuyi came for family. What obstacles did they face in the US immigration system? Well, in the story, Yuyi says that when she became a permanent resident, she couldn't go back to Mexico as she thought she would be able to do. How did they feel about the US immigration system? And how would you feel? Together, ask yourself that question and see what each person in your home has to say about the US immigration system and how you would feel if you had that immigrant experience. Well, I hope you enjoyed this story. I hope you enjoyed the resources I provided, and I hope you have a great summer.